Sheryl Swoopes went off on Stephen A. Smith for calling her out for hating on Caitlin Clark. Now things are getting juicy. Stephen A. Smith is known for speaking his mind. More than once, this has gotten him into some hot water with other people. Recently, he took to his podcast to talk about how Sheryl Swoopes has been behaving extremely poorly toward Caitlin Clark. Now that is not a shocker. Swoops has been throwing shade at Caitlin for a while. However, it seems as if some of Stephen A.'s critiques struck a nerve as Swoops went off on him on her social media. Now, by the end of this video, you will see why Stephen A. was right to call out Sheryl Swoopes. To put things into perspective, this is what Stephen A. had to say about Swoops.
Clark and the Fever currently lead the WNBA in average game attendance and per game TV viewership. But despite the attendance and viewership records, there seems to be some haterade in the league in regards to Clark, starting with WNBA legend Sheryl Swoopes herself.
Now, Stephen A. is referring to Swoopes' extremely biased take on Indiana's recent rise in the standings. Swoopes refused to give Caitlin any credit. In fact, she didn't even mention the rookie. Swoops showed how petty she can really be when she decided to credit players like Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston, who have also been great since the team's return from the Olympic break, but there was never a mention of the Fever's star point guard. She believes Indiana will keep moving up in the standings if they're able to keep playing at this level, especially with Hull, Mitchell, and Boston's success.
Shout out to Lexi Hull. I'm a big Lexi Hull fan. Watch her in AU. Lexi Hull shot the leather off the ball in their game against Seattle and just couldn't miss. Kelsey Mitchell is just stroking. She is just shooting the basketball. Aaliyah Boston, almost a triple-double.
Conveniently, she forgot about Caitlin's historic record. Heck, Swoops gave Angel Reese a shout-out instead for losing a game.
Before I get into that, I'm going to say this. Shout out to Angel Reese, even in a loss. Listen. 20 boards.
It's crazy.
20 boards. Say what you want to say about how she's getting all these rebounds. You can get 20 rebounds. I don't care if you're rebounding your own.
But her blatant dismissal of a once-in-a-generation type of player is quite comical at this point.
Sheryl Swoopes. No, Caitlin Clark. Respectfully, Sheryl Swoopes, you have any idea how that makes you look? You have any idea how that serves to stain any kind of critique of Caitlin Clark?
Swoops didn't appreciate Stephen A.'s criticism one bit. On her social media, she said, "Stephen A. Smith, don't do that. If you got something to say, call me. Or better yet, bring me on your show. Y'all are so funny. If I mention her, I'm hating, and y'all want me to keep her name out my mouth. If I don't, I'm hating, and y'all want me to mention her." But her rant was just getting started. Soon after, she said, at Stephen A. Smith, "BTW, you new to this, I'm true to this." Now this implies that Stephen A. has only recently started covering WNBA because of the buzz surrounding the new generation of players. Meanwhile, Swoops has been part of women's basketball for decades and is one of the best players of all time. However, that was one of Stephen A.'s points. Swoops is too good to be covering the sport the way she has been.
Because Sheryl Swoopes, you're one of the greatest players ever in the history of basketball, that's why. See, you won a championship in college at Texas Tech. You won 3 Olympic gold medals. You won 4 WNBA championships. You know basketball.
However, the newer generation of fans will know Swoops for her outlandish takes rather than her incredible basketball ability. The reason for that is simple. Swoops doesn't seem to rate Clark very much. Prior to this, she took another swipe at the 22-year-old by saying she has better players at the Fever than Angel Reese does at the Chicago Sky, as the pair seem certain to contest the Rookie of the Year award in the latest round of their rivalry. And Swoops wasn't done just yet. She also took issue with Stephen A. Smith, calling her a hater. You talk about whomever and whatever you want to on your podcast, correct? So why can't I? Also, did you listen to the entire episode? Nope. I have a personal relationship with these players, and they deserve a recognition as well. Swoops even added, "Do you talk about them or others in the league and give them their props? I hope y'all take all of this energy to the polls and vote. Now, she does raise a very fair point there. Most of the WNBA coverage revolves around Caitlin Clark, and there is a reason for that. She generates the most eyeballs and clicks. So naturally, everyone wants to cover everything Caitlin does and accomplishes. In that regard, Swoops is doing a good thing by trying to shine a light on other players. However, this argument would have been better if there wasn't a history of Swoops hating on Caitlin since her college days. Swoops believed that Angel's game would translate to the WNBA better than Caitlin's.
You're trying to come take my job. Like, nah, it's not gonna be that easy. So will Caitlin Clark be a good pro? Absolutely. Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now immediately? Absolutely not. Not gonna happen.
Okay. Swoops also claimed Clark got her NCAA points record via shots in volume rather than quality, and that she needed more time to beat Kelsey Plum's score before she later apologized for uninformed thoughts. Now, it is perfectly fine to criticize a player. Caitlin will be the first one to tell you that she is not perfect. She famously started her WNBA career setting a very unflattering record. She scored 20 points in her debut game, but during that game she also committed 10 turnovers, the most in a debut in WNBA history. The losses also piled up pretty quick. However, one reason for the slow start has to be the tough schedule, but at the same time, when you are considered a legend coming into the WNBA, shouldn't you be great right away? Not to mention the fact that Caitlin essentially had no break between her last college game and her first WNBA game. Usually, a rookie either rides the bench and slowly gets acclimated to the WNBA standards, or they don't have as much responsibility as Caitlin did. However, in order for your critique to have some validity, you also have to give credit where credit is due.
You know basketball better than me. You know basketball than any of the pundits. You know basketball better than most of the men that play basketball. There is no way in hell you just accidentally left Caitlin Clark's name out of that soliloquy that you dropped about the Indiana Fever. Stop it. You know that. Stop it.
But Swoops did not hold back any punches as she responded to Stephen A's comments. She might have even crossed the line when she said, "Not sure what he thought he was doing. He's still in his feelings about MM putting him in his place. I'm ready to go on his show. Coward." Wow, she really must have felt angry about what Stephen A said, but he did raise some great points in his rant. Since the WNBA season started, there has been this underlying narrative that certain media members and ex-players are going out of their way to undermine Caitlin's accomplishments. And now there seems to be even more evidence of this narrative, which is an extremely bad look for the league.
All Sheryl Swoopes did was validate all the speculation that there's folks hating on Caitlin Clark. That's all she did.
Instead of giving Caitlin credit for elevating her teammates, Swoops is pretending to ignore her impact. This is pretty blatant as well, seeing that when any other playmaker improves their team's efficiency and helps brings out another level of play, they get the credit, but not Caitlin. This is one of the reasons why many people are siding with Stephen A over Sheryl Swoopes. Despite Swoops having a Hall of Fame pedigree, you don't need to know the ins and outs of basketball to see when someone is hating. There is simply no reason not to give Caitlin credit for what she has been doing. Since coming back from the Olympic break, the Fever has won 2 straight games. They took down the Phoenix Mercury and Seattle Storm. The Indiana Fever versus Seattle Storm game was incredibly entertaining. In the game, Caitlin broke multiple records, both franchise and league-wide. The Fever avoided a season sweep from the Seattle Storm with an impressive 92-75 victory. All eyes were on the game not only because it was a highly skilled matchup, but because Caitlin only needed 2 assists to break a 26-year-old WNBA record. The rookie came into the game with 223 assists, just behind Tisha Penicheiro's WNBA record of 224, which was set in 30 games with the Sacramento Monarchs in 1998. Now, naturally, she broke the record before halftime, and she only needed 28 games to do it. Her first match back was against Diana Taurasi and her Mercury team. Caitlin dominated the game. Her performance might be one of those performances that we look back on in a few years and think, yeah, that's when Caitlin really found her groove in the league. In the first half against the Mercury, Caitlin tallied 16 points on 55.6% shooting, which included 3 triples with 5 assists and 4 rebounds. Just complete and utter dominance. She also made some WNBA history in the process. Caitlin became the first player in WNBA history to score at least 450 points and tally at least 200 assists in a rookie season. Only 5 other players in league history have achieved that feat in any other year of their careers. But all of this conveniently slipped from Swoopes' mind. So no wonder Stephen A. called her out. The fact that she was so upset over it shows that he struck a chord, because deep down, she knows she is hating on Caitlin Clark, but doesn't want to admit it.